Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for October the 21st. Today we are reading together Psalm number 123. The 123rd Psalm has been given the title in my Bible, Looking for God's Favor. I believe this would qualify as a lament psalm, and this begins a second of a number of three psalm series that are appearing here in this section of Songs of Ascent, spanning Psalm 120 through Psalm 134. I mentioned yesterday, reading a cool little nugget about this text that you see here within this text, about 5 sets of 3 psalms, and they have a decent pattern, as I mentioned on Friday, I believe, how at least the first 9 fit into this section or this pattern of 3 psalms, which begin with lament, which go into a confidence about God, and that end with something concerning Zion, the city of God, Jerusalem, and how it really lines up to where it kind of follows somebody on a journey. Remember, the Song of Ascents, people view them in different ways. Some people see them as a spiritual ascent, gaining strength in spirit and in faith. Some view it as going up in musical notes and tune. And then others still see this as some of these songs that would have been sung as pilgrims or journeyers were making their way from their place of habitation up into Jerusalem for particular feasts and celebrations and festivals and such. And so we looked at Psalms 120, 121, and 122 and saw how it follows that. The first one, 120, is a lament. The second one is a psalm of confidence. And then finally, you can see Zion in the distance, and David within Psalm 122 speaks so well of the city of God. And I think it starts over again here in Psalms 123, 24, and 25, where we have in 123 today a lament. On Wednesday, we're going to see a psalm of confidence about Yahweh being on the side of the author, David being the author of that psalm. And then finally, Psalm 125 is going to talk about Mount Zion and how it cannot be shaken, how it stands forever. So again, we see this pattern developing pretty well here within the psalm. Let's read together Psalm 123. Again, a psalm of lament. So we're going to see the issue here being being the object of contempt in the minds of those who are described as arrogant and proud, and how the author here is longing for God to act on his behalf. So reading here together, Psalm 123, verse number 1. Psalm 123, verse number 1, I lift my eyes to you. And I should say, the title of the psalm has been given the title in my Bible, Looking for God's Favor. I might have mentioned that earlier. Nevertheless, reading here, Psalm 123, verse number 1, I lift my eyes to you, the one enthroned in heaven, like a servant's eyes on his master's hand, like a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand, so our eyes are on Yahweh our God until he shows us favor. Show us favor, Yahweh. Show us favor. For we've had more than enough contempt. We've had more than enough scorn from the arrogant and contempt from the proud. Psalm 123. I'd say that this psalm really doesn't do much about the whole journey motif. Yeah, I think it really shows up well in Psalm 120, because the imagery that's given to us there is of somebody who is far away from Jerusalem and longing to get back to Jerusalem. We don't really see that here. Maybe we can see this as the author here is among those who are not faithful. So he's longing to get away from the proud and the arrogant in order to get back to God and to get back to his presence. Maybe that's the idea beyond or behind this psalm, which gives us the journey type mentality. Again, going from lament to confidence to Zion. But here the psalm begins like Psalm 121, about lifting my eyes to you. There it says, I lift my eyes toward the mountains. Again, the mountains being the places of divine residence. But here, I lift my eyes to you, the one enthroned in heaven. Think Jerusalem was the place where God's presence dwelt. It was the connection place between heaven and earth, where the temple and the tabernacle were, where the ark was situated. the ark being the footstool of God. So the author here is looking to God, the one who is enthroned in heaven. He's looking to God's city, to be in his presence. And this is what the author says. We're going to skip to the end of verse number 2 and then go back and catch the simile. So it says at the end of verse number 2, the last 2 lines, so our eyes are on Yahweh our God until he shows us favor. So the author is looking to God for something. He's looking for some sort of sign. So this compares to, is like a simile, is like a servant's eyes on the master's hand, or a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand. What the idea here is of a servant or a little servant girl watching the master, watching the mistress, and looking for something, looking for some sort of order to be given, looking for some sort of provisions to be handed out, even looking for some sort of punishment in some cases. Think about maybe with our kids, they ask us something and they're looking for our answer, and maybe we don't actually give them an audible yes or no. Maybe we just give them a nod saying yes, or a no, a shake saying no, or maybe they're waiting on us to let go and we go like this and tell them, go ahead, go do whatever you want to do. That's the idea here, is that the one who is dependent upon the greater, the lesser who is dependent upon the greater, is looking for the greater to give some sort of sign of permission, or some sort of sign of relief, as far as this particular instance goes. That the author here is looking to Yahweh, and he's looking for Yahweh to show favor. He's looking for Yahweh to show mercy. He's looking for Yahweh to show some sort of grace. He is looking for Yahweh to act in some sort of way, just like the servant or the servant girl would. So why is the author looking to Yahweh for favor? Well, he's looking to Yahweh for favor, and he requests favor from Yahweh 2 times in verse number 3, because he is oppressed by wicked people. He is suffering contempt from wicked people. Not just contempt, but he's also being treated with scorn. What does that mean? What does it mean to be scorned or treated with contempt? Well, it's to be treated as lesser. It's to be treated as if you are nothing. It is to be treated as if you have no value, and if you're not worth anything. So these prideful and arrogant people who the issues of pride and arrogance already make this a bit obvious in the fact that they think they're better than you, and that they think they're more important than you. So they treat you like you're nothing. Now the author recognizes that he is nothing, that the author is nothing whenever it relates to God. So he is looking to God for what only God can give. It is a total submission to God for grace, mercy, and favor, because he's certainly not going to get it from these wicked people. They're not wanting to give any sort of positive thing to the author. Again, all they're giving is scorn. All they're giving is contempt. So the author recognizes that there's no one to turn to for favor except God. There's nothing else to put hope in except God. So maybe that's the situation here, is that the author is away from God's people in some way and wants to get back to God's people, wants to get back to God's presence with the temple, with the tabernacle, with the ark, because where he currently is, they have nothing for him. They have nothing for him but contempt. They have nothing for him but scorn. They have nothing for him but hatred. And he's oppressed by that. He's saddened by that. He laments his current condition and longs to be back in God's presence. So he looks to the one enthroned in heaven. His eyes are on Yahweh as God, looking for that sign of favor, looking for Yahweh's mercy. And of course we know, excuse me, that God is faithful to his people. And that as we do suffer contempt and scorn at the hands of wicked people, that God is there with us, and that he does look to encourage us, and that he does look to lift us up. And he does that for those who are faithful, for those who are totally dependent on him, for those who recognize the necessity of being dependent on him. He is ready and willing to aid us in our struggle against the wicked people of this world, and against those who hate us and who disparage us and who treat us with contempt and scorn, because our hope is in him. The arrogant and the proud put their hope in so many other things, So many other things that at the end of the day are just going to fail them. But those of us who trust in Yahweh, we know that we're putting our faith in the one who will never let us down. So the author here, oppressed by the contempt and the scorning of the arrogant and the wicked, lifts his eyes to the one in heaven, lifts his eyes to see the favor of his God. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm 123, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I appreciate you taking some time to read along with me on this Monday. Hope that it starts you out on a great, I hope it starts out your week in a great way. And looking forward to reading with everybody again on Wednesday as we read together Psalm 124. The Lord Yahweh is on our side. Another song of ascents, and this one is of David. Looking forward to reading that with you then. Tomorrow is Katie's birthday, so I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to reach out and say happy birthday to Katie. Thanks for tuning in today. Again, have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday. Take care, and God bless.